Alright, I'm using X13 trial, but that didn't make any difference. Here's your Frieze all fixed. And I'm going to show you a couple things before I show you how I fix that. Looking at this front wall right here, I'm going to open it. And on the structure panel, default wall heights, you've got both those unchecked, which tells me you've come over here and drug the wall polyline around to make it fit where you wanted it to. And that's kind of a bad thing. It's sort of a last resort type of operation. What happens is that Chief has all this automatic stuff, and when you monkey around with the wall like this, then Chief doesn't do its automatic stuff to that wall anymore. It expects you to manage this wall. So I'm gonna check both of these and say okay. And then you can see what's happened is that there's two walls here now. Now if you don't want that, if you actually do want a continuous wall here, you can open this bottom wall and check balloon through ceiling above and say okay. And the program automatically builds that wall. Of course, it also built that. I'm going to see if that'll delete. So there's your wall. And you could do the same thing over here. You could make this balloon through ceiling, and it would get rid of this little attic wall, both of those. And I don't know why Chief does this, why it sometimes builds multiple walls like this. You can simply do this, and now you've got a single wall. Now the other thing with this wall up here, it's got board and batten on it, and you've painted that on there. So when you go to wall types, this is just a plain siding 6 wall. When you go to define, it's got white siding on it. And what you really need to do is make a copy, change this to siding 6, board and batten or something, and then change the siding material to board and batten. And again, that just eliminates problems when you do that. And then what you would do is you would just redraw or change the wall type for these attic walls to be that board and batten type. Now don't worry about this. This was something I did, just testing something. So that's what you would do here. You know, I'd make a new wall type, board and batten, and then open this wall, and change them to board and batten. So I'm going to close this plan and then reopen it. And take a perspective. So we're back where we started. We go back over here to vector. So you can, these horizontal lines here tell me that you've got a bunch of walls in here. So you've got this wall that you've changed the top height on. So I'm going to put that back to default. And then you've got this little wall here and that little wall there. So for now I'm just going to delete these windows just to get them out of the way. So you've got these goofy walls. So I'm just going to open this wall. Let me go over here to materials, exterior wall surface, select material, use default material. Okay. So that cleans that wall up. And then this wall you can just drag across. And then when you see Frieze like this, it's not building. It's almost always not, you know, there's none here and there's none over here. Not every single time. There's oddball situations, but almost every time you see this problem, it's because of this roof. It's the roof right below, and it's because the roof isn't snapped up against these walls. So let's go over here. Let's turn roofs on. And if I select this roof plane, you can see that it's got some jags in it. It's got some breaks in it right here. And so I'm gonna select that segment right there. And I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna pick this intersect join two lines tool. I'm gonna click that and I'm gonna click on this edge over here. And you can see that's now one single segment across there. See how this front is not snapped up against the wall? Now this wall right here is inside out. You can see that the siding is on the inside. And so I'm going to come up here and reverse layers. Now the siding is on the outside. So I'm just going to align that with this inside wall, and then I'll take this roof plane, and I'm going to see if it'll snap up against there. So let's take a 3D, and so we're getting closer. We've got the frieze up under here. We've got most of it over here. So let's take a look at this roof plane. So here's that roof plane. And again, you can see it's got all these little breaks in it along here. So I'm going to select that segment there. I'm going to click this intersect join two lines tool. Click over here. And that cleans up this top segment and makes this edge continuous. And then I'm going to push that up against there. And now there's your frieze. So the first thing to look at is always the roof below. Always. And if something obvious like that is not if the roof is obviously where it should be, then there's another problem. Okay, one other little tip I'll give you. I noticed that you use soffits for these. And there's really not anything, I guess, wrong with using soffits. They work. You could also use polyline solids. You could use material regions. There's all kinds of things you could use for these. But you can also use a molding. So I'm going to go back over here. Let's go down to the first floor. And there's a couple ways of doing this. I'm going to select this outside, this exterior room. And then up here, this is my edit toolbar. I just drag it up. It's usually at the bottom. I just drag it up and docked it up here at the top. So there's all these things that you can do. Make room polyline. Make living area polyline. Make room molding polyline. So I'm going to click that. And I'm going to say just 100 inches. And then I'm going to select that. Or it's already selected. I'm going to open it. And let's add a molding. And I'm going to make it kind of big so it's really visible. And then let's see if that did anything. there it is. So I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna uncheck that. And that puts it on the outside, it looks like. But it also, for some reason, turned off your moldings on all these edges. So I'm going to select this. With that edge selected, I'm going to use this same tool, intersect join two lines. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to unclick no molding on selected edge. Now you can see this line, it's the molding. Somewhere up here there's a add molding to selected edge. There we go. I'm not sure why it didn't. Normally it would put moldings. It would not do what I'm showing you it's done. So there's your molding. Normally you wouldn't have to uncheck it or do any editing to it. That's normally it would it would run it around the entire house. Anyway, that's one way. That's one way you could do this belly band is to use a room molding polyline like this. I'm gonna select that and delete it. And the other way to do this, maybe a simpler way, is just to draw some lines. And then I'm going to convert polyline, molding polyline, say OK. Let's make it 100. Do the same thing, add new. And then you can see the moldings on the inside of that polyline. So what we want to do is uncheck this. And then we can just snap those up against the wall. So that's just another way of doing this. If you make a room molding polyline, the way I started, if you do it that way, that will automatically cut doors and windows. So let's say this door is 80 inches tall. If you put your room molding polyline at 48 inches, right about the middle of the wall, it would cut doors and windows automatically. You'd see it between the doors and windows, but it wouldn't cross the doors and windows.